Good morning. Continuing in Jeremiah 17, let's pick up in verse 3. We're going to pick up just a little into verse 3 as the sentence shifts. Your wealth and all your treasures I will give. This is what the Lord is saying. He will give for spoil as the price of your high places. Remember, the high places were the places where the Canaanites had worshipped, and they set them up on these elevated places where they would have offerings and altars, and the Israelites came in, and because they were optimal places to worship, the Israelites co-opted them. It's not that they necessarily worship false gods at them, but the worship of Yahweh, they co-opted the place and worshiped Yahweh at these locations. And the Lord felt appropriately, obviously, that this kind of an approach to worship was mixing this pagan site and sort of baptizing a pagan site in Yahweh worship. And the Lord longed for them not to do that kind of syncretistic, and have a syncretistic element to their worship. And so he says, your wealth, your treasures, I'll give for spoil as the price of your high places, the way you've polluted worship throughout all your for sin throughout all your territory. You shall loosen your hand from your heritage that I gave to you. The heritage being the land and all its blessing and benefit and what that meant for their children. And I will make you serve your enemies in a land that you do not know. For in my anger a fire is kindled that shall burn forever. See, in response to their disobedience, God acts. And as he acts, he has an exaction from them, right? Our sin costs us. That's one of the lessons that's learned here. Your sin will cost you. It'll exact something from you. Secondly, there's an exile, a taking away. Sometimes this happens to us. It's not that you get removed to a different country or a different state or a different city, but rather there's a displacement of life. Sometimes there's a displacement emotionally, socially, sometimes physically, even with our bodies, spiritually. And it helps us gain a more introspective sense of self. God is after you. And in that, he will do what is necessary to get a hold of your life. Now that may disappoint you sometimes because God, and this is sometimes the disappointment we have with God, is that God responds to us in ways we don't like. Even in our sin, he may teach us and he may enact a hard consequence or something difficult that gets thrown into our lives that he appoints for us, just like he appointed a fish for Jonah. Well, he appointed an exile for Israel. I'm reminded of a quote from Bob Sjogren and a guy named Gerald Robison in a book, Cat and Dog Theology. It goes like this. A dog says, you pet me, you feed me, you shelter me, you love me, you must be God. That's what a dog thinks of its owner. A cat says, you pet me, you feed me, you shelter me, you love me, I must be God. If we're honest, sometimes we're more of a cat than a dog. And so we have to remember that we don't have the right in that sense to have, quote, disappointment with God. God is at work, working all things, as Romans 8 says, for our good. Now, to do that, he sometimes has to permit pain and difficulty and even bring it so that we will learn what it is to be fully his and that we are not God and he alone is. Take care. And may the Lord strengthen you as you go on your journey today.